I think both of the presentations we've heard so far really emphasize that even with a co-op or a city, there's got to be engagement between private providers and the public provider or other entities. And I just want to give another plug for the 16-page guide, Broadband USA, an introduction to effective public-private partnerships for broadband investments. This came out in January, but might have gotten a little lost with President Obama's announcement of the importance of broadband in the State of the Union. But I'm glad to see that NTIA is promoting this. It gives a lot of great case studies of many of the VTOP projects and other projects and how they're making use of public-private partnerships as they develop their gigabit networks. All right, continuing, we now get to hear from Ron Walters, who's the Executive Director of Pangaea. Pangaea was one of the very first networks, so I look forward to hearing a little bit more about some of your efforts here in Tryon and elsewhere in North Carolina.
Thank you all for hanging in there before happy hour. So that's always a challenge for me. Okay, did I get it? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I love the title of this session, Broadband is Like Oxygen. And that is, nothing could be more true than that. And we feel that we've found at least one formula that has worked for us. And in essence, what I want to talk about today very quickly is provide you almost a case study in terms of what has worked for us. We're a very small organization in a very small service area. But this formula has worked, and I'd like to share it with you. Pangaea is a 501c3 organization. Our mission, like a lot of 501c3s in broadband, is to enhance the quality of life and the economic development of our service area by providing high-speed, very reliable internet service. We focus on 5 market segments: healthcare, government, education, commercial businesses, and then wholesaling to residential internet service providers. What I want to talk about are 3 things. One, where we are today, and then how did we get here, and then some lessons that we've learned in terms of the now 14 or 15 years that this network has been under development. This is a 2-county fiber optic network in southwestern North Carolina. It's about 200 miles long, and we've connected every school and charter schools and the hospitals and many of the doctor's offices and pharmacies, the county and municipal government locations, and many commercial businesses along this fiber route. So, standing here in 2015, this has been a very successful effort in terms of bringing last mile fiber to a very, very rural area. There are 90,000 people that live in these 2 counties. Okay. So this was, and I like to go through this exercise, how did we get here? And we're real excited about where we're going to go from here, but I think it's important to see how we got here because it's been, again, a successful case study in how to get broadband deployed. This effort started out in 2001. Jay and I actually found some emails from the year 2000 when this effort started with the community. And I think that's a key, Will, that you mentioned. The community has to be a core component. And I'm talking about the local newspaper publisher, the library IT director, the school system IT director, a banker, a computer repair guy. All were so frustrated by lousy DSL that they got together and tried to figure out what to do about it. And of course, one of the first things they needed was money. And our friend Jane Patterson and the Rural Internet Access Authority allowed us to cross that first hurdle. And there are always hurdles that you need to get over. That was the first one because they took a risk. They took a risk on this little community and this group of community leaders, volunteers, to actually build a network. So they provided funding to write the initial business technology plan, if you will, to build 7 miles of fiber. That 7 miles of fiber is now turned into 200 miles of fiber, and it's made a dramatic impact to our rural area. We talk about public-private partnerships a lot, and it's almost an overused phrase, but I don't think it is overused because it's so important and it's at the core of why this network was successful. And I almost view this as an 8-legged stool, and as I look back, this network was successful because of these 8 legs. And again, it starts with community at 12 o'clock. Community leadership. Our community leaders put thousands of hours of volunteer time into this network. Didn't get paid a dime. And as a testimony to the community love of this network, many of them are still on our board 15 years later. And they still come to every meeting and they view this as their network. It is a community network. And I think that's a key. Of course, we need funding. I mentioned government funding through the Rural Internet Access Authority. We have several great foundations in North Carolina, Advantage West, Golden Leaf Foundation, Z. Smith Reynolds, and I will say this, one of the biggest hurdles we had to get over is to get a grant that covered operating costs. It's so difficult to get grant money to cover operating costs. That grant from Z. Smith Reynolds to cover operating costs allowed us to hire, or at least pay, a consultant to be our operations director. That was a huge hurdle. And it's something that we all need to think about, is the need for grants that will cover operating costs for these networks. You can't do it with capital alone. The school systems were important partners, providing technical insight. The utilities, our pole attachment agreements, we overlash on the cable companies, cable. They overlash on our fiber. We have strong partnerships with all of our utility companies in the region. Our customers obviously are extremely important. We have, counting the school system as one customer, we have 105 customers in commercial, schools, government. About 3/4 of those have provided us testimonials. And it's our greatest selling tool because our customers are the biggest fan of our network because they feel involved. They serve on our technical committee, they serve on our board of directors. They view it as being their network. When a competitor comes in and provides them a bid, they pick up the phone and call us. When they see our fiber hanging low on a utility pole, they pick up the phone and call us. We're constantly looking for wireless ISPs to partner with to get that last residential mile in order to really, which is really our biggest challenge right now, is to utilize this fiber network infrastructure to get that last residential mile complete. We have one provider now that serves about 800 residential customers using our fiber. And our vendors are obviously important. AFL is 30 miles away, and they've provided over the years a lot of fiber equipment, network planning expertise. But again, this is the foundation that has worked, and the partnerships are strong, and everybody views this as a community network, which I think is extremely valuable. The impact, I've touched on most of these. It's an extremely reliable network. Our customer service number is our operations director's cell phone. Customers all know him. They call him, and it has worked extremely well for us to have that personal touch. We have a partnership with Facebook. We were lucky enough that Facebook built a data center in one of our counties. So Facebook and Pangaea and the school system have partnered to provide Wi-Fi for student homes in these rural areas. So we're in the process, we're in phase 2 now of deploying Wi-Fi throughout some of the high student concentration areas. Because in Rutherford County, 50% of the students don't have broadband when they go home. 1 out of 2. And Rutherford County was lucky enough to get MacBook computers to give to every 6th through 12th grade student. 5,000 students are handed a MacBook computer. Well, guess what happens? They go home and it's dark. So Facebook, and again, it's all about community. One of Pangaea's founders is the data center manager at Facebook. So they've been extremely helpful in partnering with us to try to get Wi-Fi deployed throughout our region. And we're now offering our own community grants and scholarships now that we have a sustainable financial situation. Lessons learned. Just a couple real quickly. Community focus, not shareholder focus. Can't tell you how important that is to our customers. They feel that they're a partner in this network, that they're not a customer. Partnerships we talked about. When it comes to a nonprofit, it's all about sustainability. That's what every grantor is going to ask you, the very first question. What's worked for us is use grant money to pay for capital costs, and then make sure that your customer revenue can cover your operating costs, plus build up a sufficient reserve. It's an extremely valuable formula that for a nonprofit that's worked very effectively. And I put some financial numbers up here just because, again, I view this as a case study, and this formula works extremely well because the leveraging of the partnerships allows you to realize sufficient operating margin so you don't have to have debt. You can have an attractive return, and you can do it all with very limited resources. We've been around for 14 years. 7 of those we had 0 employees, all volunteers, and now we have 3 employees. So it's a very leveraged, it's a model that's leveraged on the community, if you will, and it really does work. Now we have some challenges. One is residential, how to get residential penetration using this network, and we're always looking for partners to help us do that. Our second is to interconnect our network with some other networks, other local and regional networks. And then we always have a struggle keeping our IP and transport costs low, because being in such a rural area, those are some of our higher operating costs. Okay, that's kind of a view of where we've been and some of the lessons that we've taken away. And we've only just begun is the way I look at it, but this is where we are now, and this model seems to be working. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, quick question, Ron, could you tell us what the speeds of your coverage are and you know, how it varies by what technology is reaching them?
Right now, another nice thing about this network is that we customize everything because we have such a targeted market and every customer has unique needs. And one thing that's worked wonderful for us is that an insurance company that needs 50 meg, we can give them a 50 meg connection and we can give them transport between their two locations in our counties. The school system that gets bandwidth from the state just needs a backup connection from us, so we can give them a backup connection just to use when they need it. So we're going to be offering the new FCC minimum bandwidths, and we're planning on rolling that out this summer. Right now, our bandwidths start at 10 meg and go up to, we have some customers with 200.
Excellent. And how many customers do you have?
We have 105 currently, and that counts the school system as one.
Well, great presentation.